Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am sitting on my bed because I feel like this is going to be maybe a long video, so I want to try and be as comfortable as I possibly can. But today I'm going to talk about the JonBenet Ramsey case. I am obsessed with true crime. This crime in particular is what made me want to study law. So I feel like there's going to be a lot because there is a lot to this case, and the fact that it still has not been solved and it's been nearly 30 years at this point is insane to me. But if you do not have any idea who JonBenet Ramsey is, we'll do a little background. So JonBenet Ramsey, who was born on August 6th of 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia, and she was born into a family of Patsy being her mother, John being her father. That's how she got her name, because John's middle name is Bennett, so they put John and Bennett together and put a French twist onto it and came up with JonBenet. And then she had a brother called Brooke, who was 9 years old at the time that JonBenet was murdered. So like I said, JonBenet was born in Atlanta, Georgia, but I'm pretty sure from my research that they had moved to Boulder, Colorado in 1991. John had a kind of computer business going on, and they pretty much stayed in Boulder up until her death in 1996. So the family were doing well for themselves. They lived in a nice house. Patsy had put JonBenet into beauty pageants. That's probably what she is probably most known for. Mainly because, and here's the thing, I've read nearly every book. I believe I read this from John and Patsy's own book that they had written on it, that in 1993, so at this stage, JonBenet would have only been about 3 years old. Patsy was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and Patsy was a former beauty pageant queen, and there was an anniversary going on, and she was invited back, and she brought JonBenet, and apparently JonBenet really enjoyed this, and it made Patsy kind of worried that considering that she was battling ovarian cancer at this time, that she was not gonna have possibly a lot of time. So they thought it'd be a good idea to start entering her into beauty pageants. And I also just want to say that John has three older kids from a previous marriage, but they're kind of unrelated to the story. So yeah, that's pretty much a little background. Patsy did beat ovarian cancer during this time, so she was completely fine health wise at this point. Now let's move on to Christmas of 96. So Christmas morning started off as a pretty normal morning. JonBenet and Brooke had gotten up, opened their presents, everything was fine. They played with their toys for a bit, and then the Ramseys started getting themselves ready because they were going to the White's house, which was I think a friends of theirs, for dinner or lunch or whatever. So they were pretty much out of the house for the majority of the day, Christmas Day. So they had left, and they got home between 9 and 10 p.m. and according to the Ramseys, JonBenet had fallen asleep in the car, so John took her up and Patsy came in and got her ready for bed, put her into her pajamas and just put her into bed because they had an early start the next morning because they were flying back to Atlanta, Georgia to spend the rest of the holidays with John's older kids, and I'm pretty sure Patsy was turning 40 soon, so they were also I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that they were going on a Disneyland cruise for something that the whole family could enjoy and also celebrate Patsy's 40th birthday. But for the majority of like the Christmas break, they were going to be spending it in Atlanta with George with John's older children. But Brooke had stayed up for quite a bit. I do believe that Patsy, after she put JonBenet to bed, went to bed herself, but John claimed that he stayed up with Brooke for a while because he got a train set for Christmas and he was determined to get it built before he went to bed because he wouldn't have had time to get it built any other days because they were leaving the next morning. So John kind of stayed up with him for a while to build it because if he stayed up it would have got done quicker. And then he himself put Brooke to bed, and then he claims that he went to bed himself and he read for a bit and then he went to sleep. So everything was going pretty well. Now, it was the next morning, December 26th, and I should probably like explain like the layout of the home. So like on the ground floor there was like, you know, your kitchen, your living room, and then the first floor was Brooke and JonBenet's room, and then the third floor was John and Patsy's room, which I believe originally was an attic when they moved into the house, but they converted it into like the master bedroom. And Patsy came down the spiral staircases, which I'm pretty sure that was like the back stairs to get from John and Patsy's room down to where the kids' bedrooms were. So Patsy was coming down the stairs because she claimed that she was the first one awake, that she wanted to like sort out the laundry or do some laundry or something before they left for Atlanta. And she had claimed that when she got down to like, not, I'm pretty sure it wasn't like the bottom step because at this point the Ramsey note was on the bottom step, but she was like in view of the children's bedroom doors and both doors were shut. So like I said, Patsy had noted that both the children's bedroom doors were shut, which Patsy had claimed it was a bit unusual for JonBenet's door to be completely shut because JonBenet was pretty afraid of like complete darkness, but she liked to have her bedroom door a little bit open at night so like the hallway light could get in, so there'd be a little bit of shine. But Patsy like brushed this off and thought that, oh, maybe JonBenet got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, and she just closed the door behind her and just kind of got over her fear of the darkness, and or maybe tried to get over her fear of the darkness and didn't think anything of it until she got to the very last step, where the most famous and complicated ransom notes in the history of ransom notes. It was like nearly 3 pages long, and it started off with Mr. Ramsey, so clearly whoever wrote this knew of the Ramseys. And in this ransom note, it claimed that they had kidnapped JonBenet and they pretty much wanted $118,000 in return, which was very precise considering that John himself got Christmas bonus that year of exactly $118,000. It's a bit sus, but okay. Patsy immediately opened JonBenet's door and she was not there. She had woken up John. They had called 911, and apparently throughout this whole thing that was going on, both Patsy and John claimed that Brooke was not awake during this time, but Brooke, like a couple of years back, probably like one of the rare interviews Brooke has ever done, he had sat down with Dr. Phil, and pretty much said what was going on in his point of view, and he had stated that like the morning of December 26th, Patty had bursted into his room going like, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" So I don't know if like that happened during this time frame, but like it was kind of weird that both Patty and John had claimed that they had never woken Brooke up because they didn't want to like panic him or anything like that. But yeah, Brooke is on Dr. Phil saying that Patsy like burst into his room like looking for JonBenet. So them two stories are kind of conflicting one another. I guess we really won't know what exactly happened. Or whatever. Now the 911 call. Literally like if you can like search the 911 call up on like YouTube. Patty literally just goes, "My daughter's gone, she's missing," like doesn't say her name, doesn't really give much the description to the 911 like dispatcher or whatever, but eventually like police cars came, and I just want to say Boulder police did not really do like a good job in the case, like in my opinion, because they let like the Ramseys brought friends over, which like I don't know if you can really give out to them for that, because like I feel like they're obviously gonna be extremely stressed and panicked that like their daughter's kidnapped, that maybe they wanted like people over to try help. I feel like you don't really know how you're gonna react in that situation until you're in a situation like that. But the police officers just let anyone walk in and out of the house, which is contaminating a crime scene. Like, yes, I know that they at the beginning thought it was a kidnapping, but it's still a crime scene. So 10 out of 10 for a great job. I also want to make a note that in the Ramsey note it claimed that they were going to ring between 8 and 10 a.m. to like exchange like the money and then to exchange JonBenet back to the Ramseys. But I'm pretty sure no one called between 8 and 10 a.m. To exchange any pleasantries. Now I'm pretty sure John went out and like got mail, which a lot of people kind of criticize that, but like in my opinion, I'm like, he's just getting mail. Like, please calm down. It's like maybe he was just trying to like keep his self occupied and not be like panicked, and maybe trying to stay as calm as he possibly can. So I don't really think much of it. Brooke did eventually go to the White House, who, like I said previously, went to their house Christmas Day. So he was out of the house from pretty early on in the day. And then around 1 p.m., Detective Linda Arndt, who was like the main detective on the crime scene, told John to kind of do a final search of the house, which is like, why would you do that? Like, they pretty much let the Ramseys out of their side for the majority of the day, which was extremely weird to do, because considering that they're the parents, they would be like the prime suspects. So John had taken Fleet White, who was like his friend, and he went down to the basement, and that's where like they found JonBenet's body, wrapped in a white blanket. Like, I actually could not imagine just stumbling across that, especially because it's your own child who you thought was kidnapped, and have the possibility of getting her back safely. That makes it a bit easier. But as you can imagine, that's probably any parent's worst nightmare, to find your child like that. There is unfortunately pictures of her body online, which I feel like is extremely disrespectful. Not only is she a child, but she is a victim of something extremely horrible. And I just think that's extremely disrespectful. But she was found, like I said, in the basement by her dad, John. She was wrapped in a white blanket. She had a garrote embroiled into her neck, which suggests, and now that we know, she was strangled with it. It was like a handmade garrote. She had duct tape on her mouth, and her hands were tied behind her head. And John had claimed in interviews that he had taken the duct tape off her mouth when he was down in the basement to kind of see if she was still alive, which a lot of people kind of criticize, but at the same time, I get why people are criticizing it, but at the same time, I kind of maybe understand where he's coming from, like, as a parent, you know, because the police shouldn't have let him go anywhere in the house by himself, especially to do a check. He had taken her upstairs, and she was placed in front of the Christmas tree where Detective Linda Arndt had put a blanket over her, which is another red flag, because that's putting more like DNA possibly and all that onto the body. So like you can't, when like the body's being done for testing, it's going to be hard to determine what was on the blanket and what was actually on her body before the blanket was placed onto her. Patsy rushed in, did see JonBenet on the floor, and dropped to the ground and started crying and started hugging her, which a lot of people, like I said, when John took the duct tape off her mouth, they did criticize Patsy's actions, but at the same time, she like just found her daughter dead lying in like her living room floor. I definitely do think that the police should have did a better job in like kind of like controlling the whole scene. I feel like if the police actually like controlled and like maintained who was coming in and out of the house, who was walking around the house, I feel like there would have been definitely a higher chance of finding out who killed JonBenet. But unfortunately they just did not do their job that great. This whole case turned into like a massive media frenzy because I feel like people were really intrigued because she was a beauty pageant queen. There's like footage online, and there's pictures in that online that you can find of her like participating in these beauty pageants. But her body was taken in, and there was DNA found underneath her nails and her long johns, and I'm pretty sure in her underwear. But according to like DNA experts, none of the DNA matched her, like anyone in her family. Pineapple was also found in her system, which there was a bowl of pineapple like on the kitchen like table that was believed to have Brooke and Patty's DNA on it. So it's believed that like that like Christmas night, like the night before, Brooke and Patsy like shared a bowl of pineapple. But people are confused on how JonBenet got pineapple in her system. But I personally believe that like she might have just taken one out of the bowl and not touched the bowl itself. That's why like maybe her DNA is not on it, or maybe like Patsy or Brooke handed her one out of the bowl. That's why her DNA is not on it. Like I feel like there's probably like a good reasonable explanation on why her DNA is not on the bowl. But it kind of goes against what Patsy and John had claimed in their statements and everything else. That JonBenet had fallen asleep in the car and they had put her straight to bed. She did not get up in the middle of the night. So it's kind of confusing on why she has pineapple on her system, because it was quite recent pineapple, and I'm pretty sure she did not have pineapple in the White House like during the day that they were over. So she would have had to have pineapple when they came home. So there was definitely a time frame that night that JonBenet was awake. So I kind of just find that really interesting. The cause of death was asphyxiation, which is like the strangulation, and head trauma, which people believe because they found a flashlight also in the kitchen. that was used to knock her out, which apparently did not belong to anyone in the Ramsey household. So it was kind of just weird that like a magic flashlight just randomly appeared. And also I forgot to mention in the Ramsey note, first of all, it was written in the house because there was a practice note already like written out that was on Patsy's like notepad. So it was written with her notepad and her pen. So there was, like I said, a practice note written out before the actual ransom note was left. And also with the ransom note, they obviously tested Patsy and John's handwriting. I'm not sure if they practiced Brooks, but I feel like considering the writing in the ransom note, it looks very like mature for a 9-year-old to possibly write. So maybe they just didn't test Brooke, but I know for definite that they tested Patsy and John's, and John was like ruled out straight away as he did not write the ransom note, but Patsy came back inconclusive. Like, and you can look online like for like kind of side by side of like the ransom note and some similarities to Patsy's own handwriting. So that is really confusing. But like I said, hers came back inconclusive, so they couldn't exactly prove that she had written the ransom note. And then the ransom note ended with SBTC victory, which still to this day no one has no idea what that means. So that is a bummer. But like I said, DNA was found, was matched against the Ramseys, and it was not a match. But obviously the number one suspects is the parents, because she was found dead in their own home. And I'm pretty sure like the police like came to the Ramsey's house around 7 a.m, like maybe 6-7 a.m, and she was not found until after 1 p.m, like shortly after 1 p.m. And it's just insane that it took so long to find. Like, wouldn't they have checked the basement? Like, wouldn't that be like the number one spot that you would have checked? But they did, when they were like scooping out the basement after her body was found, they did find a suitcase like above the like basement window, which was broken, but the Ramseys already knew that the window was broken because a couple of months prior, John had broken the window from the outside because he forgot his keys and no one was home when he wanted to get into the house, and they just never managed to get it fixed. And there was like a scrape on the wall, as if like someone came in and maybe scratched the wall when they were like coming down the wall. People believe that like the suitcase against the wall was like how, if you believe the intruder theory, how they got out, and some people even believe that they had the intentions of bringing JonBenet out of the house in that suitcase, which I don't believe. Like, I feel like this case is actually a case that I do not have an opinion on. I've went through all the opinions and been like, yeah, I have that opinion, or like when I read something new, like my opinion has changed. But as of right now, I have no opinion on this case because I have no possible idea who could have done it. And I'm very open for other people's opinions on it, because I am extremely fascinated in this case. And I openly respect everyone's opinions, because this case is not solved, so anyone could possibly have committed this crime. Now, going back to the basement, there was high-tech boots, like footprints, like found outside the basement that apparently did not belong to anyone in the Ramsey's family, and I'm pretty sure there was another footprint of the same boot beside her body and where it was found in the basement. And like I said, apparently this boot did not belong to anyone in the Ramsey's family, and they could not find the boot in the Ramsey's home. So I feel like, okay, it kind of maybe checks out a little bit. But yeah, they couldn't find anything possibly to prove that the Ramseys may have committed this, bar Patty's handwriting being somewhat similar to their aunt's, no, but they felt like it was not enough evidence to possibly charge. I know they did a couple of years after plan on like indicting the Ramseys, but they decided not to for some reason, I believe, which I don't know why. But like for the first couple of years of, you know, when the case was at its highest, Boulder police primarily focus on the Ramseys, which, don't get me wrong, I definitely feel like you should focus on the Ramseys 100%, because like I said, they're the parents. She was found dead in their home. Obviously they're going to be the number one suspects, but at the same time look for other options instead of spending all your time on the Ramseys, because I'm a firm believer, maybe because I study law, you are innocent until you're proven guilty, or whatever. And it's really interesting going back and researching this case with the knowledge that I have now compared to when I first started researching it. That's why maybe I have no opinion on it, because like I said, there's there's no one has been charged, unfortunately, and I personally feel like no one will ever be charged. As much as I want someone to be charged and bring JonBenet to justice, I feel like we are not going to get it at all. No, there's probably a lot of information that I forgot. I'm just trying to remember everything. That's why I'm like, okay, so when I talk about this information, I forgot about this. But in 2002, Patty was diagnosed with ovarian cancer again, and she would have passed away 4 years later in 2006. Not seeing any justice for her daughter, if you want to say that the Ramseys are innocent, or she didn't find any answers. But 2006 was a pretty interesting year for the case, where a man called John Mark Carr came out and stated that he killed JonBenet, and it was an accident and he didn't mean to. And John Mark Carr, I'm pretty sure at the time in 2006, was in Thailand, so they did like bring him over, because I'm pretty sure he was running away from like law enforcement in America, because he was caught with child pornography in his possession, so they were trying to get him for that. And then this man came out and said that he had killed one of the most famous children of that time frame. And I feel like JonBenet probably is one of the most famous murdered children there is still to this day, like nearly 30 years on. And I think like the police were like, okay, well, it makes sense if he did kill her, because he obviously had child pornography in his possession. He's a bit of a weird dude. So they took him from Thailand back to the States, and they did a lot of testing. He said that he wanted to talk to Patty. Like at this stage, Patty was still alive, but I'm pretty sure he was given the Ramsey's home phone number to talk to Patty, but he got too scared and did not contact her. And obviously, like we know, she unfortunately passed away in 2006. But they, brought him in for question. He said that he didn't mean to kill JonBenet, that he loved her and he wanted to be with her, because I'm pretty sure in Mexico he also tried, or if not succeeded, marrying a 13-year-old girl. This man was just all weird. But he had told her that he loved her. Apparently, he was with her the night that he died, but he claimed that he never caused her death, even though he said that he killed JonBenet. But the authorities were able to prove that he was not in Boulder in Christmas in 96, so he was released. I don't know if he was charged for child pornography or that, but he was released in relation to the killing of JonBenet Ramsey. And then 2 years later, in 2008, the Boulder police came out and cleared the Ramseys as complete suspects, which, I mean, if you want to say it's great, if you don't want to say it's great, that's cool. But I think it kind of sucks that Patsy had died 2 years later. I mean, not 2 years later, 2 years prior, not hearing her family be cleared as suspects. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Let's get into the theories, because I feel like this video has already gone so long. I feel like it's definitely the longest video I've ever sat down and actually filmed. But let's talk about theories. Now, the very most popular theory surrounding this case is that the family did it. So there's kind of like a theory like for each family member. So let's start with Patsy. So people believe that Patsy Ramsey did it, mainly because some of her handwriting matches a handwriting in Ramsey. Like I said earlier, people believe that in the middle of the night that JonBenet wetted the bed, that she apparently had a history of wetting the bed, and Patty got really frustrated with her, and like JonBenet had a bathroom attached to her room, and Patty, out of frustration, like flung JonBenet against like the side of the bathtub, and she hit her head, and she already thought that she was dead, so she kind of like staged this whole thing, whether she staged it herself or else got John to help her, because I've read different reports. I've read that her bed was wet when police were doing like evidence, not after her body was found, and then I read reports that her bed was not wet. So people believe, because JonBenet already had a prior bedwetting issue, that this happened the night of December 25th, or maybe early hours of December 26th, that Patsy got so frustrated with her that she threw her against the bathtub. Out of frustration, she accidentally hit her head, and Patsy, out of, I guess, panic, already thought she was dead and possibly didn't want to go to prison, staged this whole thing. And then there's kind of like another theory that I read surrounding Patsy, is that because there was a garrote found inside JonBenet, and people believe that she was apparently a victim of sexual assault, that she found John abusing her, and out of so frustration, she and like anger, she went to hit John, but accidentally hit JonBenet, and like kind of like a similar thing to the bedwetting theory. Now let's move on to John. Kind of relates to like the last theory I had just said, that he was abusing JonBenet sexually, and he didn't want her to speak, and he was very afraid that she was going to speak up. So he killed her to stop her from speaking, and Patsy, or else himself, like staged the whole thing. And then Brooke, a lot of people in fact think it was Brooke, and when I first stumbled across this case I was one of them people, but like I said, now I have no opinion. Brooke apparently, prior, like maybe like a couple of months or maybe like a year or so prior to the death, they were out golfing, and he accidentally or purposely, I'm not sure, hit her with a golf club. So he already had signs of aggression, and apparently he would wipe his feces everywhere, which was extremely gross. And this also goes kind of back to when I said that there was pineapple, found in her system, and how there was a bowl in the kitchen of pineapple with Brooke and Patsy's fingerprints in it. It kind of goes back to that maybe JonBenet did in fact wake up in the middle of the night, came downstairs, saw Patsy and Brooke eating some pineapple and wanted some, and out of anger he got the flashlight, which was later found, I believe, on the same table or in the same area that the bowl of pineapple was. He had lifted the flashlight and hit her over the head, and she obviously would have fell to the ground. Patsy panicked and thought that she was dead, and didn't want to lose both her children, because like I said, Patsy had already thought that JonBenet was dead, and she didn't want to lose her second child, Brooke, to prison. So her and John staged this whole thing, or whatever, because apparently Brooke was very jealous of JonBenet, because she apparently got all the attention from like doing the beauty pageants, and Brooke just felt extremely like neglected, and that's where like his anger apparently came from. So that's kind of like the theory surrounding the family that I could find. And then the next theory is that an intruder did it. And I feel like you're either on the Ramsey side or else you're against them. Like, you kind of believe the intruder theory or else you believe that the family did it. I feel like there's no in between. And then there's just me, literally between. But the intruder theory is that someone had broken in, because a couple of days prior, the Ramsey family, like, there was something going on, like, where people were coming, seeing, like, houses on the street. It was all done up, and there was a good couple of thousand, I believe, that walked through the Ramsey's home in the space of, like, because it was going on for, like, throughout a couple of days, and then days, and people believe that someone came in, scoped the place out, seen that it was a nice house, and kind of presumed that Christmas would be a great time to, like, come in and maybe try to rob them. So people think that maybe it was a burglary gone wrong, that, like, an intruder came in, JonBenet woke up, and the intruder maybe thought that kidnapping this child would be a better way to kind of get money out of the Ramseys. But it kind of went extremely wrong, where the intruder accidentally killed her, because Detective Lou Smith, who was another detective on the case that didn't believe that the Ramseys were involved, had said that because the police report was that she was knocked out first with a blunt object and then strangled, but Detective Lou Smith believes that she was strangled first and then knocked out, because he went through, like, the photos of the crime scene and noticed that there was finger marks above the garrote, that he believes that JonBenet was alive during her strangulation and was trying to get at her neck to, like, loosen the garrote, and whoever was doing this then got the flashlight and knocked her out pretty much. And there's, like, obviously different suspects. Like I said, John Mark Carr had came out and stated, even though it was disregarded because he didn't, because of all the evidence. There was also the Santa Claus, because Santa Claus had told her a couple of days prior that she was going to get a special gift after Christmas, which people thought was really weird of him to say. But obviously there was no evidence that the Santa Claus did it, and there was obviously a few suspects throughout the years and who people believe killed JonBenet. Now, like I said, I have no opinion. Like, that's kind of like all the theories. I feel like this video is, like, really long enough. Like, if you're interested, I feel like research is definitely, like, a great thing. But like I said, I actually have no opinion on it. I'm very in the middle of who could have actually did it, like, and the fact that it's taken so long to find answers for this girl. And I really do hope that we do eventually get justice for JonBenet, because she deserves it. I feel like anyone that's went through that definitely deserves justice. I don't know if we'll ever find it because of how long the case has been, but there's been other cases, like if you look at the Golden State Killer, it was over 40 years after he was found. So there is a possibility, because DNA technology is improving so much over, like, the last, like, nearly 30 years. So, like, there is a possibility that, who knows, in the next couple of years we'll actually find out who killed JonBenet Ramsey. But yeah, I don't want to say a little video because it's not a little video. Like, my voice physically hurts from talking so much, and it's gonna be a pain to start editing this. Like, that's why I've been editing as I go on my laptop, because I hate editing. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think, because I really want to have an opinion on this case, because, like, it's a very interesting case, but, like, is there information that I forgot that, like, would lead me to have an opinion and be like, okay, so the Ramseys did it, or the intruder did it, or whoever did it. Because I was just trying to like get the main stuff in that I thought was important to the story. Without this video being so long, because I definitely feel like this video is gonna be way over a half an hour long. But like I said, if you liked it, give it a like and let me know your opinion, and just be respectful if another person has a different opinion, because I feel like it's good to hear other people's point of views, that like maybe someone knows information that you don't know and you're like, oh, that's pretty interesting, I'm gonna rethink the case again. So yeah, just be mindful, and I will hopefully see you in my next video. I just want to say that apologies possibly for the lack of videos over the next couple of weeks, is that I'm officially finished college for summer. Well, not officially, but I have no classes, but I do have exams coming up, so I am prioritizing them because we do not want to fail. So yeah, I thought I'd sit down and do this video because I feel like JonBenet Ramsey, like a true crime case, is kind of somewhat relevant to what I'm doing in college. So yeah, just be mindful of that, and I will see you in my next video.